Hey guys, welcome to my channel. It is Christian here. Thank you so much for joining me today. So today it is January 1st and this is the first video that I'm going to be filming in 2018. I'm so excited to be sitting down talking to you guys and just doing what I thoroughly enjoy doing, which is making YouTube videos. So this is not the first video that is going to go up on my channel in 2018, but this is the first time that I have turned on my camera, sat down and filmed for you. So I'm super excited for 2018. I just want to take a moment to say Happy New Year. I hope that you have a super blessed year. I hope that it is everything that we hope and dream it to be. And yeah, you guys, I'm just really excited. I'm really hopeful. I'm really optimistic. And yeah, so I just want to take a moment to say that really quickly. And let's go ahead and get started on today's video. So it is Dupe Week. This is the third day in Dupe Week. If you're not familiar with what Dupe Week is, basically what we are doing is we are taking the entire week and we are dedicating it to dupes for high-end makeup. So we are mostly focusing on Shop Hush. Day one was a Shop Hush haul, which is kind of where I gave you a sneak peek of all of the different products that we're going to be talking about this week. Day two was a Natasha Denona and Lila palette dupe. And today we are also going to be duping another Natasha Denona eyeshadow palette. So the palette that we're going to be talking about today is the Natasha Denona Sunset Palette. And I'm going to be mentioning two different dupes to you guys today. One I'm going to be talking about briefly, and the other one is the one that this video is going to be focused on. So if you are interested in seeing a dupe for a very pricey high-end makeup palette, then you're definitely in the right place. But before I get into that video, I just want to say that if you're new to my channel, welcome. Thank you so much for joining me today. If you do not mind, please take a moment to go ahead and hit that subscribe button down below. I work really hard here on my channel and I really work hard putting out content for you guys, and it would really mean the world to me if you hit that button and came back to check out some more videos here on my channel. And if you are not new to my channel, welcome back, you guys. Thank you for continuing to join and support. And yeah, let's go ahead and start talking about the different dupes for the Natasha Denona Sunset Palette. Alright, so if you are not familiar with Natasha Denona, this Sunset Palette is a 15 palette eyeshadow palette. It does retail for $129 and it is every warm tone lover's dream. So let me go ahead and open it up so you can take a look. This is what she looks like when you open her up. I do have this palette on one eye and I have the dupe palette on the other eye today. So if you are not familiar with Natasha Denona, she has, I believe it's 4 major eyeshadow types. She has chroma crystals, creamy mattes, duochromes, and her metallics. And you get all of that goodness in this particular eyeshadow palette. This particular eyeshadow palette does come with 8 mattes, and then you get her duochromes and her metallics throughout the rest. And I love Natasha Denona. It will come as no surprise if you've been on my channel for any length of time. I totally think that her eyeshadow palettes are worth the money in my humble personal opinion. You can purchase Natasha Denona directly from her website. You can purchase it from Beautylish, and you can also purchase Natasha Denona from Sephora. You get 15 eyeshadows at 2.5 grams of product each, which is a ton of product for an eyeshadow palette. I know when we're talking $129, I know that nobody is really caring about how much product that you're getting in these particular eyeshadows because nobody wants to drop $129 on an eyeshadow palette all at one time. That is why I got you covered with dupes here today. I mean, unless you just like really love makeup, and then you might be like, okay, I can go ahead and buy that like me. But I definitely think her palettes are worth it. But if you are not interested in spending that kind of money on an eyeshadow palette, I've got you covered with 2 dupes that are less than $20 a piece. So the first dupe, which everybody has probably at this point already heard about, seen, there are a ton of videos made about it, but I just wanted to throw it in here because the dupe that I'm going to be talking about, it is a little bit harder to get your hands on. It does go in and out of stock quite a lot. So this is definitely a great alternative. This is the ColourPop Cute AF eyeshadow palette. It does have 12 eyeshadows in here, and I do believe that this palette retails, it's either for $14 or $16, but I'm pretty sure it is for $16 directly on the ColourPop website. ColourPop is also sold at Sephora now, but a lot of their older products you cannot actually get from Sephora, yet it's a lot of their newer products. So I'm not sure if this palette will ever be available on Sephora's website, and I'm pretty sure you could still get your hands on this. This does come with the 12 eyeshadows only, so it is not going to be in a complete identical dupe because like I mentioned, Natasha Denona's eyeshadow palette does come with 15 eyeshadows. So there's going to be a couple of shades in the Natasha Denona palette that you are not going to find here. This palette does have 12 eyeshadows and it is a total of 0.85 grams of product, so it is significantly smaller than Natasha Denona eyeshadow palette. But for less than 20 bucks, I don't know how crucial that is for some of you guys. So I just wanted to take a moment to kind of throw this in there for you. I will have swatches of this palette in comparison to the other 2 palettes that we will be talking about today just for reference. but the palette that we're really going to be focusing in and honing in on today is the Bad Habit Solstice palette. And this is, in my opinion, like a 97.9% dupe palette to the Natasha Denona. It's not a complete 100% dupe because, in my opinion, there are two shades that do differ a little bit from the Natasha Denona eyeshadow palette, which we will get into in just a second. So this does have 15 different eyeshadows in here, just like the Natasha Denona. You do have your mattes and you do have your metallics. Just like the Natasha Denona eyeshadow palette, you do get 8 mattes in this particular palette as well. And then the rest are going to be more metallic shades. This palette does come with a 0.53 ounces of product as a whole. So again, Natasha Denona's eyeshadow palette is significantly larger. Now, one thing that I do want to take a moment to say that I did forget to mention in yesterday's video, this particular palette is cruelty free along with the ColourPop palette, and as far as I know, Natasha Denona as well. The Bad Habit and ColourPop palette do list on the back that they are cruelty free. Natasha Denona, I had to go on to a website and then I had to go on to one of the cruelty free bloggers, and Natasha Denona was listed. It is not a vegan palette, but it is cruelty free. I do want to take a quick second to talk about Bad Habit for just one moment. The whole premise behind the brand Bad Habit, it did start in 2016. I'm pretty sure that I did see that they did start in 2016, and they are based out of Los Angeles. And the whole premise behind the brand and the brand starting up is because they wanted to take, they wanted to make affordable makeup. They took inspiration from more higher end makeup palettes and higher end brands, and then they kind of did their own thing. So, and that's kind of the whole thing about Shop Hush as well. They have brands that do Tarte, Natasha Denona, Too Faced, Urban Decay, Anastasia Beverly Hills, and so many more brands, but those are the main ones. Those are some of the probably more popular brands. I know I have seen dupes for Lime Crime as well, but I don't personally own any Lime Crime makeup myself. That is what Shop Hush is kind of all about, just kind of, taking those brands, getting those niche brands, and then kind of throwing them on their website for affordable prices and saying, hey, you might not be able to afford a $129 Natasha Denona palette. I got you covered for less than 20 bucks. And it's not even a matter of can or cannot afford. It's a matter of, do you want to spend that kind of money on eyeshadow palettes? A lot of people don't. That's where great dupes like this come into play. And I will say that Bad Habit has some really great dupes. They are actually quality eyeshadows. I wouldn't go as far to say that they are as good as the Natasha Denona eyeshadow, but they are good, you guys. And so they're basically taking the inspiration from high-end brands, the color layouts, the different colors that are in the palettes, and then they're kind of doing their own thing. Of course, the layouts are similar, the colors are similar, they are reminiscent of one another. I mean, you can look at these palettes and it's not a question that they took inspiration from Natasha Denona when they created their palette. There they are close up. So I also want to take a moment because there are brands on Shop Hush's website that are like exact copies, dupes, replicas, whatever you want to call it, but they are not, what would you call fake makeup? So they are genuine dupes or carbon copies, whatever. There are brands that do take it to that next level, whereas this palette is, yes, you can tell that they are the same as far as color schemes and things like that, but the names are different. The colors are in different orders. There are brands on the Shop Hush website where it is exact like copies. The names are the same, the color layouts are the same, the aesthetic of the palette is exactly the same. But in my opinion, I think that that's okay because, again, not everybody wants to spend a ton of money, $50, $60, all the way up to $129 on an eyeshadow palette, but it's not fake makeup, because fake makeup is taking Kylie Jenner's eyeshadow palette and taking Natasha Denona's eyeshadow palette, taking the packaging, taking the shade names, taking the layout, slapping a fake logo on top of it and trying to pass it off as the real thing. That is not what these brands are doing. Fake makeup is not regulated, where these are all going to be safe for you to wear. I just want to kind of take a moment and say, okay, this is, dupe versus fake makeup and yada, yada, yada. But I kind of went off on a tangent for a second, so let me reel it back in and let's go ahead and take a couple of minutes to talk about these two eyeshadows palettes before I get into the swatches. So there are two, in my opinion, there is one distinct difference between the two palettes, and there are two eyeshadows that I think perform a little bit differently. So one of them is going to be the shade Spring in the Solstice palette, and that is going to be in comparison to the shade Bermuda, the Natasha Denona palette. Now you can definitely see in the pan they do not look like identical colors. One looks a little bit more peachy and one looks a little more, and one looks pink. So you guys can kind of see that really quick. Now, they are not complete color dupes. Let me go ahead and swatch them for you. So this is the one from the Bad Habit palette. And that's it swatched right there. Hopefully you guys can see that I've had to film this video literally 4 times. I had to go back to my old lens because the new mic is playing me and I had no audio. So I gotta go back and try to find a new mic that's gonna work for me because that one did not. And this is the one from the Natasha Denona palette. The more you blend these two shades out, the more alike they look. The one in the Bad Habit palette definitely pulls a little bit more of orange, whereas the one in the Natasha Denona palette definitely has a little bit more of a pinky undertone. But like I mentioned, once you get them fully blended out on the eye, if it's a light wash of color, you really can't tell the difference. But if you build the colors up significantly, you can slightly tell the difference, that you have a little something different going on in your crease. So that is one thing to take note of. That is the only shadow that visually, when you look at it in the pan, looks different. The other shadow that I think is a little bit different is the shade Summer, which is going to be the yellow. And that is what it looks like swatched. And there the shade Summer is swatched on my hand. And then let's go ahead and pull the shade Soul from the Natasha Denona palette, which is this guy right here. And that is the shade from the Natasha Denona palette. This shade from the Bad Habit palette, in my opinion, looks a little bit more neon, whereas the Natasha Denona palette looks a little bit more muted. And those were also the shades that I noticed to be the difference as far as blendability. I will definitely say that the Natasha Denona yellow blended a lot easier. The one in the Solstice palette did kind of skip a little bit on the eye and it was not as easy to blend. Of course, the more you blend the shades out, the more similar that they are going to look. If you just go in with a light wash of color, you wouldn't be able to tell the difference whatsoever. But in a more saturated swatch, or if you build the color up more intensely on the eye, I think that you will be able to notice a hint of a difference. But nothing that, unless somebody was like all up in your face, you would really be able to tell. But for the purposes of the video, I did want to go ahead and point that out for you guys. As far as the rest of the shades, I think that they are pretty much spot on dupes. I do think that the Natasha Denona mattes perform better than the Bad Habit Solstice palette. I do think that the Natasha Denona mattes are a little bit more creamy and they are a little bit more easier to pick up and work with. But with that being said, the Bad Habit palette, the mattes are good. They are not overly chalky or anything like that. I just think that the Natasha Denona ones are a little bit more smooth and they blend out just a little bit more effortlessly on the eye. As far as the metallics are concerned, they are both pigmented for days, literal days. Let's go ahead and swatch one so you guys can see. One of my favorite shadows, and it is the shadow that I am wearing today all over my lid, Morgana from the Natasha Denona palette. The same as Helios from the Bad Habit palette. Both creamy, both blendable, both high shine. Alright guys, I'm going to go ahead and insert the swatches now. I'm going to be swatching the Bad Habit Solstice palette first, followed by the Natasha Denona palette, and then I will be swatching any corresponding ColourPop palettes to go along with it. So that is the order that you will be seeing them swatched on my hand. that as far as dupes are concerned, these are some really awesome dupes. I think that Bad Habit has cornered the market on dupes, and I think that they make some really great quality product. If you wanted to like skip Sephora and go straight to Shop Hush, I definitely think you could. The downside is, of course, a lot of their stuff never stays in stock. Another downside is, of course, Shop Hush is going to be more easily accessible for people in the US. I don't know how easy it is to get their products outside of the United States, but don't sleep on them, especially Bad Habit. Out of all of the different brands that I have tried on Shop Hush thus far, I think that Bad Habit does the best job at duping the palettes, and as far as quality is concerned, I think that they knock it out of the park with their formulation, with their packaging, and I do appreciate the fact that even though they are taking inspiration and or copying the more high-end brands, I do appreciate the fact that they come up with their own names, they come up with their own packaging, and they kind of put the shades in different orders, you know what I mean, for what it's worth. Overall, I do think that this is a great dupe palette. I definitely think that you need to download the Shop Hush app and follow them on Instagram. Of course, none of these videos are sponsored. Of course, nobody is telling me to say that. I just genuinely am excited about this website. I genuinely am excited about these products. And I think that for as long as they make dupes, I might turn Dupe Week into a recurring theme here on my channel. I might do it once a month or once every other month or something like that, as long as they keep making quality dupes. And of course, I will branch out from Shop Hush. There are tons of dupes out in the world. You just gotta take a little bit more time to like find them, whereas Shop Hush, it's kind of like, hey, look at me, I'm duping this particular palette. But anyways, you guys, I give this dupe palette 2 thumbs up, just like yesterday's dupe palette, which is no surprise because it is 2 Bad Habit palettes versus 2 Natasha Denona palettes. So I'm not surprised by that at all. And really quickly, I am going to go ahead and mention which eyeshadow I am wearing on which eye. Like I mentioned, I do have the high-end palette on one eye, and I do have the more affordable dupe palette on the other eye. Today, the Natasha Denona palette is on this eye, and the Shop Hush palette is on this eye. I switched it on you so you wouldn't like think I was too predictable. But I do think that you cannot tell the difference when you look up close and personal. I think the eyeshadow looks exactly the same, just like I mentioned yesterday on both eyes. You cannot tell the difference. Now, if I had gone in with the yellow, or if I had gone in with this shade, I did go in with this shade ever so slightly, but I pretty much covered it up. But I did use the yellow yesterday, and you could totally tell that my eyeshadow was different. Other than that, I have used every single eyeshadow in this particular palette, and of course I've had this palette significantly longer, so I have used every single eyeshadow in this palette as well. Across the board, they are identical with the 2 exceptions that I mentioned already, and they are both excellent palettes. So if you've always wanted to buy a Natasha Denona eyeshadow palette but you aren't ready to splurge, or maybe you're saving up to buy one down the line, this palette will definitely 100% get it done for you. So yeah, you guys, that is all that I have to say today. I really hope that you did enjoy this video. I really hope that you will subscribe. And yeah, you guys, and I will see you back here tomorrow with another dupe palette.